Okay, the broadcast is live. So, hey everyone, this is Rev Rich from Bethany Church in Lindenwold, New Jersey. Certainly on behalf of our pastor Bishop David Evans, our pastor Nicholas Smith, and the entire Bethany family. Thank you. God bless you. Welcome to another edition of our Business Professionals Association business panel. We're really looking forward to the topic tonight. We have two established gentlemen that are going to be joining us this evening, and we're very glad to have them. I will introduce them in 1 second. Certainly, as always, please share. We're on all the social media all the social media platforms. So please go ahead and share. Let folks know we're here. We're going to be having a great conversation tonight of marketing through effective technology. Marketing through effective technology this evening. So anyone that you know that may be an entrepreneur or may be in corporate world or looking to do so in either one, we have two gentlemen here this evening that are going to help us in that space. We have a brother I've known for a long time and know him and his family. Both of them actually. The first one I'm going to introduce is Mr. Navarro Wright. Navarro Wright. He's a senior product director for Facebook. He'll tell you all about that in a minute. I've known him for a while. He's worked at BET. He's done a lot of different things and a very accomplished background and doing a lot of great things at Facebook right now. So we're looking forward to hear from him in a second. And Mr. Andre Leftwich, I've known him for a long time also, know his family, grew up with his wife's brother, and I used to hang out way back in the day. But Mr. Leftwich is the CEO of Every Merchant, a marketing firm, and we're going to hear from him also. But we're really looking forward to this evening. Get your questions. Of course, we have the chat. The chat is going to be live. The chat's going to be open. We're going to answer your questions this evening. So again, thank you for joining. Really looking forward to the next 57 minutes or so. But first, we're going to get started. Before I start asking questions on this topic and step out the way, Navarro, if you would, start us off and please just tell us a little bit about what you're doing, your background, your experience, some of the things you've done, and how you've arrived at Facebook.
Thanks, Reverend Rich. I appreciate you having me. Just really quickly, I've been involved in the media and technology space for just about 30 years. I've been several roles, the CTO of BET, Black Entertainment Television, for about 6 years. I was the CTO of Radio One and TV One. I co-founded a company called globalgrind.com with Russell Simmons. And over the years, I've worked in several different startups. And as you mentioned, I am currently the director of product marketing for the Facebook app at Facebook, focusing on our Creator initiative, helping people and individuals and small businesses monetize themselves on our platform. And I appreciate you allowing me to be here tonight.
Thank you. Love to the family, and thanks for joining us, Navarro. Andre, glad to have you also. We're going to ask you to give us a little background on what you've been doing, how you've been doing it. I know you've a true entrepreneur in the truest sense of the word and have done many successful ventures. But if you tell us a little bit about that and then how you arrived at Every Merchant, that would be great.
Thanks, Rich. How are you? Thanks for having me too. Thanks. Hello. Big shout out to the Bethany family. It's great to return. We launched, Every Merchant started 2008. We are a digital marketing company. I've been fortunate to work across 32 countries, work with brands like Disney to California Closets, Arthur Murray, Verizon, and just thousands of small businesses nationwide, US and Canada. I was built by, and I'm going to reference where we are today. This was a personal journey for me that I had to follow. Many fell, 2008 market crash. I had to reinvent myself as a baby boomer who wasn't so tech savvy. I had to learn how to survive. And this thing we call digital has been great to me. It's supported my family, a life that I could have never imagined. And I'm just excited to share my experience and guidance with anybody I can help.
Thank you, Andre. I really appreciate that. Again, if you have any questions for us or comments, please leave them in the chat room, and we will look to have those questions answered by our two gentlemen here tonight. Just to get us started, just a question I'm gonna throw out to you. If you could, we'll start with you, Andre. Please talk about the fundamentals of successful marketing through technology. There's certainly in-person marketing, but because technology is what it is today, can you give us, and then after Andre Navarro, if you can give us a little feedback on the fundamentals of successful marketing by way of technology?
Absolutely. Great question, too. Technology is tricky. I'm a baby boomer. I'm the front end of the baby boomers. I didn't grow up with this stuff, so I had to learn to appreciate it. And Rich, how am I doing with feedback? Am I okay, or?
We can hear you. You're just a little delayed. But we can hear you. So you go right on ahead, and we'll see if it clears up.
Okay. Gotcha. And so, for me, technology didn't come so easy, but as I started to understand it and it, it's a wonderful, powerful thing. There are a lot of stories out here. There's a lot of misinformation out here. And I think that's the biggest challenge to business owners, that they have to weed it out and kind of understand. So when I travel across the globe, I tell people it's about marketing with certainty. You have to be certain in what you see, understand, and the numbers. Do the math. If I pay X amount of dollars for marketing, I need to look at that return to understand what it's doing for my business. If I gave $1 and somebody gave me $100 back, if I'm smart, I should give $2 and get $200 back. And ultimately, if I got the bandwidth or the capacity to take on more business, people get hung up with the number of what it takes to market it. But I am okay spending $1,000 if I can see I'm making $100,000 back. And I think what we see, most businesses just weren't taught that, especially the smaller businesses. They don't understand the math, they don't understand the numbers, so they miss the boat. But right now, it's a great time to be a business owner. It's a great time to be a Black business owner, especially with the last 2 years, the events that have occurred. It's just a wonderful time to jump into this space and get your business exposed.
Thanks, Andre. And Navarro, before you answer that question, I just want to say, hey, welcome to Kife, who's out there. We appreciate you, brother, for always coming in. To my leader, who's out there, good evening, Sister Williams, and to Sister McNeil. I believe it's Deshala. Thank you for joining us this evening. And again, send us your questions and we're going to answer them. I see Carol is out there and KTB is out there. So we appreciate you, faithful members, for checking us out, and let other folks know that we're out here tonight. So Navarro, same question to you before I throw another one at you. Please discuss the fundamentals of successful marketing through technology, particularly as it relates to the environment that you're in today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing for people to think about when you kind of talk about the fundamentals is first take technology out of it. At the end of the day, whatever your business is, whether you're selling services, whether you're selling products, right? The core fundamentals of that business is your business can only be as big as the size of your audience, right? If you only are marketing to 10 people and you only sell 2 things, that's not a viable business, right? What technology is really an enabler. It allows us to extend that audience no matter where you are. And the beauty is, before technology became prevalent in business marketing, if you were a business and you had one location, it only could serve a certain geographic area. Then you had to open another location to serve another geographic area. The beauty with technology is anyone on this call today, even if you're a solo business owner, can have national and global reach from your location, leveraging technology as an enabler. So you can get your message out to a wider audience. You can increase that number of your audience segment and then the percentages work in your favor. Remember when I said, if you only have 10 people that you're talking to and you get to 2 people, right, that's 20%, but that's not enough to viably grow your business. But if you can change that number from 10 to 10,000, that same 20% makes you a viable business just by sheer ability to expand your audience. So the key for technology as a fundamental statement is using it to extend your message to a wider audience so that those same percentage numbers work in your favor, and being able to do it without a higher cost, right? Like I talked before about having to open multiple locations. The beauty of technology is from your single location, you can continue to extend your reach and have total control of how wide of a net you want to cast to get customers.
Thanks for that, Navarro. I'm gonna follow up with another question to you, and it's not so much of a question as much as it is an experience. And Andre has a similar experience that I've talked to both of you about to share. I'd like you to share. Now, Navarro, you've worked with a lot of churches on helping them, during this pandemic era, to get their technology so that they can market their capabilities out and about. Can you tell us about that? I know you were doing it even before the pandemic started. You've done it with, Fred Hammond and Israel Houghton and some other gospel artists to make sure they're able to hold concerts while we're still in this pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and what you've been able to do with them to help them continue to market themselves even when we're in this shutdown?
Absolutely. So it came about because at the end of the day, as I've gone through this career and helped businesses, celebrities, et cetera, leverage technology to grow their business, the Lord kind of dealt with me and said, look, if you're going to help the world grow and expand, you need to help the kingdom grow and expand. And what I started to introduce to churches is the fact that, look, a lot of us will say, well, we shouldn't be on YouTube, or we shouldn't be on Facebook, or we shouldn't be on any of these platforms. And my argument back to them is, well, if we're not on those platforms spreading the gospel, then we can't be mad that people don't come to church or get connected to the word, because the only message they have are the other ones, right? So we actually have a moral obligation as ministry to be on these platforms. I mean, Jesus wasn't hung with some shady folks, right, to deliver the gospel. When you look at the Bible, we need to do the same thing. And also, what I tell people is I have data to prove that people on these online platforms are hungry for inspirational and spiritual messages, right? So that kind of came out, and I started mapping that to churches. And what I told them to do is, look, regardless of your setup, like a lot of churches get caught up where I don't have an AV ministry or I don't have a big staff. But the beauty of social media is everybody is used to looking at content from your phone. So literally, even if you have someone on a tripod or standing in the front of the sanctuary, streaming you from their phone, that's a benefit to somebody to delivering that message. So when the pandemic hit, it forced a lot of churches who were ignoring that concept to have to deal with it on a daily basis because they could no longer have anybody in the building. So what we started doing is doing a couple of things, being consistent. Once you start streaming and putting your content online, you have to do it every week, because think about it. If you watch the TV show and it only came on once every other time you turned on the television, you're not going to keep watching that TV show. So every time you put your content on social media, it gives you the opportunity, just like I talked about with businesses, to expand your audience. But if you're consistent, those users start coming back because they know when you're going to be live. They know when to get your content. The second one is it builds relationship. Is that a lot of the churches that started streaming on a regular basis started seeing people from other areas who were far and wide, too far to ever come to the church physically, have a spiritual connection with their ministry. So again, it allows your church to not be limited to 4 walls and be connected through. And then we had churches that really got this, and anybody who's been in ministry will understand how big of a deal is this. We got them to spend money on advertising. We said, hey, if you want to expand your reach, right, let's take $5 a week. Let's take $10 a week and amplify your message to an even wider net. And the argument I made for churches is the same argument I make for businesses, is that even though your building was closed, there are expenses that you no longer had. You were no longer printing bulletins. You were no longer doing some of the physical things. And what I said to churches was to take that percentage of that, not all of it, and start running ads to promote your church. And I've had churches that have grown 200-300% while the doors have been closed because of following those tactics, right? Consistently putting their message out. Then they started getting creative around, well, what other ministries do we have? We had the marriage ministry and the teen ministry started going online on platforms like this, on StreamYard. allows us to all be in our homes, but have a conversation around spiritual topics that other people can watch. And then the last one you mentioned, the same thing happened for gospel artists, because we all know the church industry doesn't buy gospel music. We listen to it. We listen to it on streaming things, but we very rarely buy albums. So most gospel artists make all of their living on live performances. So when that went away, they had the same problems as churches. If there aren't churches to go perform in, they can't earn a living. So we started doing virtual concerts, and we've done some for the Clark sisters, for Fred Hammond, for Israel Houghton. And some of these concerts were the biggest concerts that they've ever had because they were able to reach that same wider audience. So to close, it's really about taking everything you're doing and allowing yourself to expose it to a much wider audience. Because I can tell you based on facts that there are people out there who want that message.
Thanks, Navarro. That's great.
Navarro raises.
Well, I got a question for you, but go ahead and jump in, and then I got a follow-up question. Go ahead, Andre.
Gotcha. Navarro raises multiple points. I just approach it from a different angle. Most people can't imagine the opportunities on the internet, the revenue streams. And so the first point he mentioned, a couple of questions ago was, know who you are. If you are a pizza shop in Germantown, you don't need to spend excess resources to target the world. And that's the problem with some tech companies. They try to sell you on a big picture. Know your market, or I'm not going to drive 100 miles to get your pizza. So focus your dollars on the areas that matter. And secondly, information. People are hungry for information. Information is the new gold. Data is the new gold. And so if you can build environments via audiences that can, administer information, people will show up to get it. And that's another whole revenue stream that business owners can take advantage of via Facebook or Google or whoever that works extremely well. That's what we do. When I got into this industry in 2008, I was at my first internet conference, the only Black person there, and this guy that you can love your mustard or you can love your mustard. I had no idea what that meant, and he finally explained it. Google that year in 2008 made $18 million, and people just searching for mustard, not buying it, searching for mustard. So when you look at today, podcasts, blogs, all these things are environments that create audiences that you can monetize in different ways, or is suggesting that you can pivot to understand. In COVID, we tripled business during COVID, considering that we lost 90% of our revenue one day in March. But our ability to pivot allowed us to understand the data, the audience, and our ability to jump out there and, create all the information that people want that allowed us to generate revenue in ways we never imagined. So that's one thing that I would say, particularly to these churches, the one thing they have and one thing they do great, they got great audiences, and they need to invest the time to understand the new revenue model on the internet.
Speaking of that revenue model, just as Navarro was doing the work with the churches as well as the gospel artists, I know you and every merchant, your company, did a very comprehensive effort with the Black Doctors Consortium in Philadelphia to making sure that during this pandemic, the message has getting out to the people about how to get shots, where to get shots. Can you tell us how you got involved, and then tell us what you did? Because it's been a very successful venture, not only for you and your company, but to the broader community.
Got to get to unmute. So absolutely. So Dr. Ayla Stanford's a friend. Amazing woman. Most people don't know, but she's Smith's personal doctor. I'm not supposed to say that, but
But you just did.
exciting client, exciting friend. Yeah, but I did, yeah. But she's an amazing woman, and she, she saw firsthand as a pediatric surgeon working in a hospital near Philadelphia, um, the perception of COVID. And initially, folks that felt that blacks were spreading COVID. And you had a lot of folks that felt they did not want to treat them. And so, as a physician, a caring woman, a Christian, she left an amazing income to go test people in Philadelphia. I'm going to give you the short story, but it's a neat story. I'm going to be with the presidential's dinner at the. My client asked me to help her create the site, build it, help her market it, and I had a short period of time to do it. And we did. And my employees looked at me like, this is a lot of work. And, are we getting paid for it? Da, 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 da. It was a good cause. First lesson as a business owner, make deposits in people. You can never go wrong making deposits in people. They will pay off eventually. That's a concept too. And so we did. I made a deposit in my friend, and the person, I didn't understand the whole concept, didn't understand code really, but she wanted to go and initiate and educate folks in Philadelphia about COVID. Long story short, most people don't know, she took 200 grand of her own money to buy tests to test people so they could survive COVID. One day, about a month ago, I got a call, and she called to thank me. When I was building it, she didn't know what was going on. I know you helped me, and you continue to help me. And that multi-million-dollar contract I got from the city of Philadelphia and all the other things that came with that, I'm going to reward you with your continued support. And I got 2 seats to be in the presidential's dinner because I'm being nominated with some amazing other folks. And the best thing I can do is invite you and your wife to join me at my table. And so that's the reward as a business owner that I get for helping people get exposed. But getting back to your question, it actually need to reel me back into what the question I was answering. Rich, I got emotionally involved in that story, but it's a phenomenal story. A great woman that, I was at her ceremony last week, press conference. She's launching, they're building 2 medical facilities in her name to help the communities because of who she is and what she is. Yeah.
No, thank you. You did answer the question, and it was, I wanted the audience to hear about both of your efforts on a broader scale to see the impact that your entrepreneurial businesses, because that for Navarro was an entrepreneurial venture, your entrepreneurial business that you've done with the Black Doctors Consortium, to hear about some of the things that you're doing. Now let's go a little bit deeper. You have folks that look at the 2 of you and they say, well, I can do that. I can do that, but they don't understand some of the capabilities, some of the whether it's education, whether it's experience, some of the things that are going on in the back office that they don't see. Many times when you see folks that have done something successful, whether corporately or entrepreneurially or in any other established whatever they've chosen for their life's work, people don't always see the work that has gone into arriving where you have. Can you both talk about some of the trials, tribulations? Certainly we've talked about some of the successes, but some of the challenges that you've had to overcome in getting to where you are today, whether it was through just a venture challenge, a contractual challenge, a not having the right knowledge challenge, and how you overcame that. Because people need to know that those things do happen. You just don't show up one day and success as a successful entrepreneur or a successful C-suite executive at Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, the beauty of the time that we're living in is that a lot of the barriers that the three of us probably face in our professional career have gone away. And they've gone away because of technology and the internet. From a skills perspective, there is not a skill, knowledge base, set of tactics that you can't learn today from the palm of your hand, right? And I think specifically as Black people, we don't take advantage of that enough, right? So when you talk about challenges, for me, a lot of the challenges were, you know, early in my career, I've been in IT my entire life. I was almost in every of the first 10 companies I worked for, probably before I got to BET. I was the only Black person in the entire organization. You had people saying, well, they weren't used to seeing Black people in technology, or that they had a different education set. And how I counteracted that was I took extra time to learn those skills on my own. Like, I didn't have the internet. You know, I had one job I applied for and didn't have the skills. And I spent the next 2 weeks in Barnes & Noble learning the skills in time for the interview to get the job, right? And I think for me, those were many of the obstacles. I think even today, like you said, like, you know, I could go into multiple details, but you know, getting to the roles that I have today was a significant amount of work. In some ways, it's probably a lot more work than a lot of my counterparts from other backgrounds. But I think the beauty of it is, and what I've told other people is that I think we're only 2 or 3 examples of what opportunities are out there. I think the beauty of today, from a struggle perspective, is no matter what your skill set is in this world, you can create a viable business if you take the mindset of, how do I leverage the thing I access to gain those skills, right? The beauty is where we are today, no matter what your economic background, everyone who's watching this, I can almost guarantee, has a smartphone. I won't even say a mobile phone, but a smartphone. And if you have a smartphone, you have all the tools you need to start your business, to learn a technology skill, to learn business skills. So for me, the hurdle was always around, how do I get access to the information that was readily available to other people? And a lot of the setbacks were not always having ready access to that information. But to be honest, I think everybody in this call has that information, which is what I'm encouraged about.
Thank you. Thanks, Navarro. And Andre, I know, I don't know how many businesses you've had, brother, but I know you've had a lot of them. and so I know that there's been different challenges that you've overcome en route to getting you to where you are today. And wouldn't be surprised if you start another business. But can you talk a little bit about that for folks that are looking to jump out there and do something on their own?
Right. So again, I can say my wife's going to hate for saying this. I went potentially foreclosed in 2008 to over $40 million. And so the internet right now, it's about audiences. It's a gold mine. I got entrepreneurs that are 20 something that make candles, that if you can introduce great, with just decent products to the world, and there's billions of Facebook, via Google, via whatever medium there is, you're going to make a lot of money. The fund guys are getting it. They're understanding that this is easy. It's really not hard, but it's lack of information. It's a whole new world right now. If you got you got to believe something that works. And again, it doesn't have to be a product. It could be just information that will help me form decisions. It's worth it to me to engage. And if you understand the internet model, if you engage and you provide, like Navarro said, consistent information on any topic, you will make money on the internet. And so I think for most of us, especially my generation, the baby, we just can't imagine it. But we have such an edge as baby boomers. Now, I don't type well, but I run a multi-million-dollar company. And it's funny when I go in these conference rooms and I got to get to the point of typing, they look at me weird. I thought you would type, they look at me weird. But my point is, I understand it, and I understand my ability to communicate with people that was inherited prior to the internet, my ability to understand, information is gold. And I've learned to leverage that. Early on for me, I never showed my photo. I just felt that being Black, um, I would coincidentally not get the business. But stayed on the phone and I show good work, good strategies, I all business. So, I toned that down early on. And again, I go back to in the last several years, it's great to be Black. It's actually an advantage, I think. So you look at all the people that have skill sets. Again, I got folks over here in Cherry Hill that just know sneakers. Sneakers is a multi-billion-dollar business aside from Nike. Sneakers, you're making money. I got kids driving Ferraris here in Cherry Hill, and all they do is sneakers. So I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Follow that dream, understand, learn. It's here. The opportunity is here right now. It's great time. Yeah.
No, thank you. That's really good insight right there to let folks know that there's no idea that's too small that can't grow big. And many times people are just thinking about getting big, but they forget about the fact that even they themselves were small at one point and they had to grow. So it does take some time to grow. But two things I want to circle back on to what both of you are talking about. I don't see many people that look like me in the environment and where I work. And from a technology standpoint, certainly there's an advantage from not having to show yourself, at least initially, to grow your business. But and on the other side, though, Navarro, when I look at these multi-billion-dollar media platforms, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, even, these big technologies houses, you hear even in the news about the lack of diversity. And that's changing. We know that's changing, even in the industry which I'm working, that's changing. But as we go forward, as we go forward, do you think it's going to be easier for folks, Navarro, in this space? Or is it going to stay the same? And what's going to constitute the change?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think you hit it all on the head. I think I think all the platforms acknowledge that there's still a diversity and inclusion problem as it relates to the numbers of people who work there, right? Like, we have a nice number of diversity of people, but I think we're always yearning for it to be more. I think it is better. I mean, like I said, I've been involved in this industry for almost 30 years. It's definitely better today than it was 30 years ago. But I think there's a lot of upside. And to answer your question about what can we do to make it better? I think it's twofold. I think we got to get many more of our people to learn the skills to get involved in this industry, right? Like even today, if you look at the numbers of African Americans entering the computer science field, the engineering field, they're just grossly low compared to our counterparts. I think the other one is, I meet people that don't even have college degrees. They just learn the skills. So even if our phobia is going to colleges, you can pick up, like I said before, these skills and these aptitudes. A lot of kids today are picking them up by, playing video games, learning how to make video games, understanding that technology, and they're moving into this space. Our people aren't doing that. So I think really the way it's going to change is I work, and I know there's other African Americans in Facebook with me that work to continue to advocate for the roles to be seen by more of our people. But at the same time, we need to push more of our people to get the skills to make that easier. So I think it's a two-way street. I think a lot of times you hear people say, well, they just need to hire more people. My argument is we need to get more of our people to get the skills that are required, right?
Yeah. I say that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and the reality is, look, like we don't understand the biggest commodity we have, the biggest asset we have is our time, right? So you think about the last year where all of us were stuck in our homes and couldn't do anything. And a lot of people made two choices. There are some people who made the choice to learn a skill or start a business and now have a flourishing 6-7 figure business. There's other people who made the decision to get caught up on Netflix, to know everything that was on Prime and Peacock and all the other things they launched. And they in the same financial situation. So it is a choice, right? Look, as African Americans, if we're looking for it to always to be equal and the same, then I don't know if that's going to happen in any of our lifetimes. But I can say that the opportunities are significantly greater. We got to go get them, but the opportunities are significantly greater. So I think, I think forums like this are important. If they get somebody to think that tonight, you know what, I'm going to go do a YouTube search or a Google search and find out something that I have an interest in and how I can learn those skills. Or I'm going to start learning how to start my own business, or how can I start my online store? Like if we get more people to do that, then there'll be a bigger pool of people to pull from, right? But
and to your point, and then I want you to chime in here, Andre. Folks have to want to do it. And you go through those stages where you go from, I wish, I want to, I'm willing, I will. And you just can't stay at the wish. At some point, you got to get to put your foot in the water, man. You got to get on in there and do that thing. And one thing that the Bishop has told us, even back when the pandemic started, he said, a time of waiting does not have to be a wasted time. To your point, am I up to date on Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, or have I learned a new skill in these last 18 months? So with that, I'm going to ask Andre, and you can comment on that if you like to, Andre, but I'll just pose a question to you. My name is Raw Industries, Richard A. White Industries. I make lights, right? I make lights for this Zoom world we're in today. And I come to everymerchant.com, or every merchant, I'm sorry, and I say, I don't know, I make the light. It's a good light, but I don't know how to market the light. I don't know what to do to get myself out there. I come to you, how are you going to help me do that?
So it's very easy. I'm going to we'll see how many people are searching for the light, right? And if Google tells me 1.2 million people a day are searching for some type of internet light, and I'm very familiar with this topic because there's a $39.99 blogger kit that had a light, had a small mic that just exploded for one of our clients, millions a day via Walmart, Amazon, and Google. And so my point is, once you see the data, it's very easy to do. I just need to put a story to it and join in. And just if my to amongst the big players is $1 or 50 cents or $2 per engagement, it's math. If I put it in front of 300 people or 500 people at $2, I'm at $1,000. But price point's great, and the ability and the reviews and all the other things that go in that equation work, you will sell a lot of it. I got a client that did something similar with just tea. He just came up with a brand for tea. And Navarro will love him. He spends over 50 a month on Facebook, but he's a multi-millionaire to a new collagen tea brand. As fast as we can make it up and dream it, it works.
So tell me what he did. He came to you with his tea. I don't know if you started with searching what people are looking for, that type of tea, but then what do? You build them a website, you get them advertised on different websites. Then what happens next?
So we at Every Merchant, we do it all. That's what we're very unique. We're not your typical digital. I build relationships. I build partners with my vendors. That's how I grow. Banks would not give me money. But if I believe in Rich's product and I saw where it could go, I realized if I help Rich get where he's going, I have a partner and a growth partner for life. He's rewarded financially. He would always pay me to help him grow, like Dr. Ayla, like every other company we deal with. And so what we do is it starts with data. What's the action on people looking for lights? We all know the internet is huge. It continues to get bigger. And so I see unfortunately, we had a company. So it's about where you want to go. So we had a guy that had a brand, phenomenal pair of glasses. We did everything. We built the brand, we built the image, we built the look, but he just wanted $400 of sunglasses. So you want Chanel money, Gucci money for sunglasses, and no one knows about you. That's going to cost a lot of money. And so I got to make a recommendation as to how I get you to succeed. And so I can't make Rich or Navarro or anyone else pay $100 glasses without having a backstory or proof or substance to the glasses to sell them. He refused to compromise with that. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. But, when I can see all the data and, I know your vision, what you want it to be, but the data says you need to come in at this price point. This is how much activity you get. Facebook, Instagram, in combination with influencers and Google and everybody else, at this point, it's a math. It's no longer guesswork. It's not buying a billboard and I hope people call me. It's a math equation, and it's a very good math equation because I can say if 1,000 people search it an hour and I sell him 2 or 3 pair, he's going to generate this amount of money. If I multiply that out to Navarro's point earlier, if I multiply that out, I anticipate he's going to make this amount of money early on with no problem. Now, as the brand gets known and the likes start to come in and Facebook like increase and following, it's just going to get bigger and better over time. What the hedge fund guys are realizing right now is they can take it. So, in the last 2 years, you have 69 that have formed across 12 countries that rise. They can get billions of dollars from hedge funds. And if Rich has raw as a lighting, for the equation is, okay, Rich makes $1 million spending $5,000 a month to push his lighting. Buy Rich out. Give Rich $5 million. Over-evaluate his company. He's got a proven model to produce lighting. Give him $5 million. He's going to cash. Then they're going to do a simple math equation. Wait a minute. He spent a few $1,000s to make $1 million a year. Throw $30,000 at it or $50,000 at it and make $16 million a month, or a year, whatever that is. It's just numbers. And that's the benefit. So whatever knowledge you have, product you have, information you have, podcasts make millions of dollars. Some make it daily. It's just information at this point. That's the model.
Okay. No, thank you for that. We do have a couple, one question and another person. I think we have a question from Lynn Coleman. And that question is, I am a travel agent with all self-service sites out. What would you recommend as a marketing strategy? You want to start with that, Navarro?
Yeah, I'll dig in. I saw her and Alicia. Alicia's using this as a marketing opportunity. She's posting a link to her website. She's not messing around. So I think so this advice is for both of you, and it's going to be 2-pronged. So I think first, any business you have, the first thing you want to do is you should have social presences for those businesses. And a lot of people will tell you, well, I have a website, so it's not good enough. The problem is if you create a website, you have to figure out a way to get audiences to that website. If you have social presences, you're already activated where people live, right? So Andre was using curse words like YouTube and Google. I'm gonna only use the word Facebook because that's what's on my paycheck every 2 weeks. So on Facebook, if you go to facebook.com/business, it'll walk you through how to create your Facebook page, how to start advertising, how to start putting content there. So Lynn, I'm gonna use you first. As a travel agent, what I would start doing is I would create that page and then I would just start going live on your phone talking about travel. Don't sell anything. Talk about how you find great destinations. Talk about the best ways to save money on excursions. Talk about how the best way to travel during COVID, right? Because what you're doing is you're showing your expertise, you're showing your value at a high level, right? And as you start getting people engaged, right, because you're going to start running ads, you're going to commit to spending $5 a day to promote your business on Facebook, right? $5 a day will get you in front of over 1,000 people that you can say have interest in travel, have, follow other travel websites, etc. And you're going to start building that audience. And then you're going to start putting packages up. Hey, and then, you can compare. Hey, you may see this package on this site, but I offer this, and then I offer those services. What you're doing is you're establishing trust and expertise. The reality is right now, the only way you can do that is if people walk into your building or if you meet them at church. You can do that at scale. So I said, that's your marketing strategy. And for Alicia with Snazzy Allure, you have t-shirts on there. So literally you should do the same thing, but you should start posting t-shirts. Your t-shirts have sayings. You should start talking about why those sayings are important and why they can help people through their day, right? Like you're promoting a mindset. You're promoting inspirational philosophy, right? And if you guys both do that and leverage ads, you're going to grow your audience. And then Alicia, you have your site on the Shopify store. You can connect it directly and show those products on Facebook and Instagram. And you're like, how do I know I'm on Shopify? I'm an internet marketer for real. I just had to look at it. So you're connected to that and you do that. Now, for both of you, that's one set of ways to grow your core business and make money. Now I'm gonna give you another one. If you go to facebook.com/creators, we have just committed $1 billion in incentives to help people become creators on our platform. And what creators are in our definition are people who create content and who can monetize that content and make a living off it. And you're like, well, how do I do that as a travel agent? The way I just talked about, the same way you are making travel arrangements for a small segment of people, you can teach other people how to create their own travel packages, right? You can start doing that. You're running ads behind the scenes, you're making money. We have paid online events. You can do monthly travel seminars where you walk people through how to create their own best vacations for $5 a head. If you can get 1,000 people to join that at $5 a head, that's probably the price of a couple vacations you sell with the same level of work. And the same thing with Alicia. You start telling people, well, here's how I created my online store. Here's how I'm using print on demand to print my t-shirts without buying inventory. Because for just as many people who want to buy your services, there's just as many other people who want to learn how to do what you do. And that way you're making money off of your knowledge and you're not trading time for dollars.
That's great. Hey, we have about 10 minutes left before we have to do some housekeeping items before we close. Make sure you get your questions in. You got two gentlemen here that have been successful at what they're doing and are giving and dropping nuggets of information on you through this vehicle that we have provided through the church. So thank you for that answers. We hope that Sister Jones Gardner and Sister Coleman have received something there and go out and conquer and do what you got to do and make it work, if it even better than it's already working. Carrying on, a question that somebody else. Go ahead, Andre. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to add to what Navarro was saying. This is what makes my company, and I got to say, amazing online. Navarro gave a clear, well, not clear, but respectfully, he gave us a plan of how to. Most people can't do that. And that's one of the problems that we see with big tech is, you guys got that knowledge, you guys got that information. I'm just a guy or a woman with a travel agency trying to figure it out. I don't get scale. I get these fancy terms. So what we've done is I got an army of superheroes that are talented, young, that understand Facebook, understand Google, understand those terms that Navarro mentioned. And so the partnership that I have with these businesses is we intake what they have, what they want to do, and we use our expertise to get them exactly where Navarro is describing. So an example of one of his comments, Facebook to me is the biggest and the most effective, cheapest billboard you can have. I have big companies that I do stupid $5 a day campaigns for that the return is insane. And I'll compare that to Indeed. Companies that are spending $1,200 a month in Indeed to hire applicants, I'm spending $5 a day and outperforming them 10 times on Facebook. And so we have that skill set. The challenge is technology just doesn't come that easy for us, especially baby boomers that missed that boat. I didn't grow up in this space. So complicated for me. We dummied it down, built an army of folks. We won't scale the way companies want, but we will every single day and help businesses grow because we tune them in, we educate them, we teach them, and we show them how to accomplish what Navarro described that might take 5 years for some people to figure out. And that's where we fast track them to get them where they want to go.
And and that's the beautiful thing about the diversity of offering, I think. When you have like I have a certain shirt on, each of you have a certain shirt on, it's the shirt that we like. I might not like your shirt, you may not like my shirt, but because there's diversity of offering, there's a vehicle for those that can use a platform such as yours, Andre, or use a platform such as Navarro's and Facebook, such that it depends on where they are and what they want to do, and it's all what right. About them, where right. They're comfortable, where they're comfortable. And that's what makes it beautiful. Glad to see Sister Allen has joined and appreciate the meeting. Hey, and we will, I don't know, Maya, tell me on the private chat how we get this information on both Navarro and Andre out there if they want that, so we can deal with that to decide if people want to get how to get in contact with them, or we'll ask them before the end of this session. But the question that I had that I was asked today is, what we see today is so much faster, so much more efficient than what we saw 10 years ago, what we saw 5 years ago. So what is on the horizon in the next, 2 to 5 years that people don't know yet? They don't know, but it's coming. It's coming. If they could get in on it now from a technological standpoint, it would give them a one-up. Certainly, we're not asking you to give up any trade secrets. You both are in the industry, but what's coming that folks need to know about and need to get involved in now, as opposed to wait till everybody to be a first mover, so to speak. How can somebody be a first mover in the next big wave that's coming from marketing technology or from technology in and of itself?
Well, I say, if I can jump in. You look at AOL, you look at Craigslist. Nothing fancy about Craigslist, but they are a prime example how information can still be monetized. It doesn't have to be pretty, but if you know stuff, you got 1 billion people across many people across the globe that want to understand and know that information. And that's the power of the internet and money by monetizing. Google figured out that they can average damn near $1,000 per user per person.
Now you can't curse on you can't curse on a church business panel.
Yeah. I apologize, Rich. I got excited. Rich.
Go ahead. We forgive you.
But Google, anybody just searching for stuff, they could average $1,000 per human being, just searching for stuff, not spending money, just looking for things. And you start to really put you on that number. What's coming up is the fact that, tech is starting to be inclusive now. They're allowing all of us to engage, participate, build brands, build communities. Facebook is constantly marketing Facebook groups. There's a group for that. If you're a deacon and like to drink water, there's a group for that. And if there's 1 million of you, you can monetize that by sharing additional information to that community. The data, where they are, what they want. So I would say, really, what are you passionate about? That's where you should start. What can I share with the world? What do I do? Yo-yos, unicycles, it doesn't matter. What can you do if you start with that and where your passion's at? And that's why folks are staying home now. They're realizing I can stay home and take a video of me eating food in Delaware and make $3 million a year. That's a true story. And that's the power of the internet.
Thank you. Andre. Navarro, go ahead. I see your comment, KJ. God bless you, brother.
Yeah, KJ don't want this work. KJ don't want this work, brother. He don't know where I'm coming from. I saw his comment. We gonna stay saved on this, KJ. But in all seriousness, it's a couple things. So first, the next big thing is right now. Like the stuff I'm talking about with this creator economy is happening right now, and it's just getting started. So if somebody was like, well, how do I get on the start of something? Like, do it now. Like, start figuring out. Like, and you could list in the comments whatever your career or trade or skill is or passion. There's a way to make money as a creator from that using our platform. That's one, right? The second one is, as it relates to kind of next technologies, like there's two I can mention. So the first one is I have my Oculus headset right here. And during 2 weeks ago, we announced Workroom. So I've been in meetings with colleagues at my job using this headset. We all have avatars. We can look at each other. We can turn. We feel like we're in the same room and we're presenting on the wall. We got visual whiteboards. And because if you've noticed the way the world works, there's a portion of our society that's going to stay remote, regardless of how things open back up. So there's opportunities if you're a trainer, if you're an educator, to understand these technologies so that when these things become more prevalent, then you can offer those trainings in VR, right? Using those tools and platforms. We just launched Ray-Ban Stories glasses the other day. Mine are in the mail, which are basically Ray-Bans that'll let you capture stuff and immediately send it to Instagram or Facebook and allow you to interact there. So that's the first step in the augmented reality. So you have glasses on and you see content. So those are all like day one things. Rich, you know what I'm saying? Like
I saw that. I read about that technology just the other day. Hey, we're gonna have to slow it down or get ready to take it offline because we're at the top of the hour. Certainly want to say thank you all for all of your comments. And when I say all, I mean all of the comments. We thank you for the comments. We thank you for the questions. Thank you, Brother Leftwich, for joining us. Thank you, Navarro, for joining us also. We are coming through to the final quarter of this year. Certainly, we started off the year with how to do business plans, financial analysis, insurance, some other marketing tools, and working through the Jesus as CEO book through the summer, where we had both Bishop and Pastor Nick with us. We're going to continue on through the end of this year with the platform every third Thursday of the month, and we look forward to you joining us again next month on Thursday. We're going to have some more information coming out for you. We thank you for joining. God bless you. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next month. Thank you, Navarro. Thank you, Andre.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Brother Rich. I appreciate it.